Welcome to Interfaith Power and Light's 20th anniversary celebration. I'm Reverend Susan Hendershot, President of Interfaith Power and Light, and I'm coming to you live this evening from unceded Nacotchtank and Piscataway land in what we now call Washington, D.C. Thank you for joining me today to celebrate 20 years of inspiring and mobilizing people of faith and conscience to take bold and just action on climate change. Tonight, we are celebrating you. For more than 2 decades, you have, and thousands of people of faith all around the country, have built this national movement to solve the greatest moral challenge of our time, climate change. From clergy and other faith leaders to our 40 state affiliates around the country, to individual donors and climate advocates, we've worked together to inform our communities about the reality of the climate crisis and to inspire them to take action. Tonight, we're going to take time to celebrate what we have built together. We'll hear from IPL state leaders about the work that they're doing at the local level. We'll hear an inspiring message from the Most Reverend Michael Curry, Presiding Bishop of the Episcopal Church. And we'll hear from several individuals who have been part of IPL all along the way. Let's start our evening with a prayer from the Rabbi Fred Sherlander-Dobb, a member of Interfaith Power and Light's Board of Directors.
Welcome, everyone. We stand on a precipice between death and pandemic that has taken so much from us, and life and the possibility of rebuilding better, more sustainably, more just than what we had known before. A precipice between despair and hope. And most of all, a precipice between knowing what must be done and getting there at the scale and speed that science and conscience demand. I invite us each to pray in our own way to the ineffable. Holy One of blessing, thank you for this miraculous existence. Thank you for the complex structure of the world, so resilient with so much life within it. Thank you for the miracle of the fractal order of things with increasing complexity, so that cells become organisms, become communities, so that communities come together within and across difference, within our faiths and interfaith, within state affiliates and within states and regions, within our movement into a national body that in turn is part of an incredible worldwide movement for sustainability and justice. And at the deeply human civic level, each of us connected to every living being and every human being on the planet. Thank you for the possibility of making a difference, and we seek your help in the consistency and the follow-through that will enable us to stand for all that is holy. We pray this in the name of all that is holy. And we say together, Amen.
Interfaith Power and Light was founded in the year 2000. The first meeting took place in a church in downtown Oakland, a Baptist church. And in addition to Sally Bingham, who had already started and been running Episcopal Power and Light, the other groups that were involved in that initial founding were the California Council of Churches, the Southern California Ecumenical Council, and the Northern California Interreligious Conference.
I remember back in the early 90s when I gave my first sermon at Grace Cathedral on climate change, and I was called a communist, and I was told I was supporting world government, and it was a long time. I mean, here we are 20 years later, and you talk about climate change in a church, and people say, yes, of course. But 20 years ago, it was very, very difficult. So we've come a long way.
The first big victory we had in terms of policy was in California in passing the nation's first bill to address global warming emissions. It was the Clean Car Act. It was a Fran Pavley bill.
And she was having difficulty getting enough votes to get the legislation passed. And we were able to find out where some of these legislators went to worship. And I got on the phone with a pastor in Los Angeles and asked him if he would talk to the legislator, and he did. And Fran has, to this day, complimented us and praised us because her bill passed by one vote. And she thinks and gives us credit for having helped have that happen. And the other thing that's fun is the legislature later that came and voted yes for her bill said, "I've never had my pastor talk to me about legislation before, but it all made sense, and thank you."
One of the things that Interfaith Power and Light does every year is we send faith leaders from all over the country to Washington, D.C. for our National Advocacy Day on the Hill. And during that Advocacy Day, we meet with more than 100 congressional offices, either members of Congress or their staff, and we speak with them about faith and climate policy. So why is acting on climate, why is taking action on federal climate policy something that people of faith care about?
We would go in our clergy clothes. Well, we dressed in whatever garb was appropriate for our religion. And legislators would really sit up straight and say, who are these folks? They said that people had come in and talked to them about climate who were from the Sierra Club, from the lung people, from health places, from Children's Defense Fund, but they'd never had anybody come in and talk about climate from a moral or religious perspective. So we had quite a open arms welcome when we went to Washington, and I believe that's still the case today. One of the first Interfaith Power and Light programs was in California, and we were going strong when I got a call from an Episcopal priest friend of mine in Georgia who wanted to start a program in Georgia. And I flew down there and we got a Georgia Interfaith Power and Light going, and it's now one of our very strongest programs. I also had a friend in Massachusetts who wanted to do the same thing. And so Georgia and Massachusetts came on very early in this ministry, and they are two of our strongest programs.
Our state affiliate network has grown to include 40 state affiliates around the country who are doing incredible work connecting with individuals, faith leaders, congregations in cities, at the state level, and doing amazing work on the ground to block fossil fuel infrastructure, pass renewable energy standards at the state level, and to carry the message of why caring for creation is a central part of our faith traditions.
We have such a large movement going on in this country. Thanks to all of you, it's a very large movement.
Hi, my name is Margaret Tresevant, and I'm an ordained Episcopal deacon, semi-retired now, having served in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I was introduced to Interfaith Power and Light when I was studying to be a deacon 15 years ago. And during our second year of school, we had to do fieldwork in a community organization. I was attracted to IPL because I was interested in how to use the community organizing aspects of faith communities to make a difference in the most pressing issue of our time, the climate crisis. Working with Sally Bingham and her staff was so exhilarating because I could see the tangible results of putting our faith into action when we work together. I love that it's an interfaith organization, drawing all faith communities together on an issue that all faith traditions hold dear, caring for one another. IPL keeps that command front and center as it organizes faith communities to engage their respective faith communities in the effort to combat climate change, not only by being an example, but also to raise awareness in the individual members about ways that they can have a lighter carbon footprint in their lives. But even more importantly, IPL organizes the voice of faith communities to press for changes in policy and move corporations to make changes that affect the planet. I've lobbied with IPL in our state legislature, and I support their activities in Washington, D.C. And that's important because legislators and company CEOs know that faith communities are a large and powerful constituency and consumer. IPL makes change not only on the individual level, but a more global level. The reason I choose to financially support IPL is because it maximizes what my one small voice can do. Joining with a group that amplifies my voice is one way that I, Margaret Tresidant, can do something about an issue that has the potential to end life on this planet as we know it. The world has ignored it for far too long, and we can't ignore it any longer. IPL's on the front lines of making sure that we don't. As one person, I can't do much, but as part of a larger community, I believe we can change the world.
Thank you, Margaret, for sharing your story and why you continue to support this critical work through your financial gifts. IPL has had dozens of interns over the years from colleges and seminaries, and all of them have left their mark on our organization. And they've all gone on to do incredible work on their own as religious leaders, as preachers and teachers, and environmental activists and academics. Tonight, we are raising funds to support one of our signature programs that equips current and future religious leaders to preach and teach about the climate crisis, Faith Climate Action Week. Not only does this program provide the largest shared learning experience for congregations, it also mobilizes people of faith and conscience to take joint action. Our goal today is to raise $60,000 to bring this program into more congregations in 2022. This year, already more than 1,500 congregations are signed up to take part in this week of action in all 50 states, and next year we hope to bring that number up to 2,000. You can donate this evening where it says donate on the left-hand side of your screen. And the good news is that we have already raised $46,000 toward our goal. So tonight we need to raise the last $14,000 to take us over the finish line. Thank you for the donations that came in ahead of today's event, including those from Amy Quirk, Jerry Hitz, Ben Hammett, Julie and Will Parrish, Margaret Tresidant, Jay Palmatier, Linda Safarik-Tong, Sally Rings, Ralph Purdy, Melissa Gavin, Nancy Wright, Barbara Beisel, Bill Hilton, Debbie Mytels, and Robert Kibrick. You can continue to donate in the box on the left throughout the event, and I will be back later to update you on our progress. Next up, we'll be hearing from one of IPL's national staff members, National Organizing Director and State Affiliate Liaison, Bill Bradley.
Hi, I'm Bill Bradley, National Organizing Director for Interfaith, Power, and Light. For the last 10 years, I've had the privilege of serving as the IPL State Affiliate Liaison. Interfaith, Power, and Light has 40 state affiliates all across the United States. IPL affiliate leaders have spent years and sometimes decades building relationships with congregations, faith communities, policymakers, and community leaders in their state. They run programs and campaigns to lower their state's carbon emissions, educate people of faith about climate change, and mobilize them to take action. Thank you to the IPL leaders in Virginia, Arizona, and Minnesota for sharing their stories with us. These are just a few of the examples of the impact of IPL state affiliates and our IPL network as a whole. To learn more about IPL state affiliates and connect with your state affiliate, visit interfaithpowerandlight.org.
Hello, my name is Joe Meinholz. I work as the outreach coordinator at Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light, and we are working on organizing a faith community response and resistance to the Line 3 tar sands pipeline. So Enbridge's Line 3 pipeline is an expansion project equivalent in emissions to 50 coal-fired power plants, and it is being built to carry tar sands oil from Alberta, Canada to Superior, Wisconsin. Their new pipeline route, with dangers of oil spills at every spot, is cutting through the heart of northern Minnesota and crossing the headwaters of the Mississippi not once, but twice. The Anishinaabe water protectors have been leading a movement of resistance for 7 years to protect Mother Earth, to guard her waterways and wild rice beds that are sacred to Anishinaabe culture, and to uplift the violation of treaties that this project is in a continuation of cultural genocide. Right now, 3 tribal groups are in court to stop the construction of this project on the basis of those broken treaties, but the company Enbridge plans to have construction almost complete before the tribes have their day in court in June of 2021. So we are, at Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light, we are a part of a beautiful movement to resist this pipeline, and we are learning to embody the fact that racial justice and climate justice are intertwined. We cannot have one without the other. So with Line 3, we're seeing genocide of indigenous peoples is the same pattern that is creating an unlivable planet for all of us and for generations to come. We are called as spiritual and religious leaders to call out the pattern of extraction and move towards collective care that is co-creating a just and sustainable future. Our work with Line 3 is healing work, and our relationships with frontline communities have facilitated not only actions and petitions, but also deeper healing work to name the history that we were a part of and co-create a better future. So construction is almost halfway done, and over 200 people have been arrested to protect the water. They are poised to drill the pipeline under the Mississippi River as soon as the ice melts. And we are calling across the country and the world to come join us in resistance up north. We're calling all of you today to join us in calling your national representatives and ask Biden to revoke the permits for this death-dealing project so that we can all move towards a healing future where racial justice is a reality and our water is clean for generations to come. Thank you for joining us in this work.
Hello, everybody. I am the Reverend Canon Sally Bingham, and I welcome you this afternoon. I'm so glad you're with us. And thanks to you, we have a big celebration ahead. 20 years of a religious response to global warming. The Interfaith Power and Light program grew out of Episcopal Power and Light, and we are now in 40 states. We have 22,000 congregations, and all of these congregations are focused on finding solutions to climate change. We know that climate change is affecting every aspect of our lives, whether it's disease, which we've just had a taste of. It could be the air we breathe, the water we drink. All of these things are being affected by a changing climate. I feel, and I'm sure many of you agree, that this is a moral issue. It's definitely an environmental issue, but it's also a moral issue, largely because how we respond to climate change is reflective of our relationship with God and our relationship with each other. So if we love our neighbors, which we're called to do, we will be great advocates for solutions to climate change. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, Bishop Michael Curry. Bishop Curry stood with our Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light folks when they were protesting the pipeline that was going through North Dakota. And he is here tonight to talk with us about why religious people should be caring for creation. So enjoy the evening, and thanks for being with us.
Hello, I'm Michael Curry, presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church. It is a real honor to offer words of congratulations, and maybe even more importantly, words of thanksgiving for the work of Interfaith Power and Light on this, the occasion of the 20th anniversary. I was in high school on the first Earth Day, And I understood that we were to care for our environment and clean it. And I remember that we went out picking up trash and litter on that particular day. The motto of our school, the words of Francis Bacon, knowledge is power. Little did I know that that first Earth Day was the early germination of knowledge. Knowledge that we must care for the environment in this world that God has given us. Knowledge that we must do everything that we can to reverse the change of climate for generations yet unborn. That first Earth Day helped to raise consciousness, and Interfaith Power and Light has continued that work to this day. Now, while there is much work to do, now, while the nations must gather resources and make firm commitments and actually live to them, it is possible. It is possible that we as a human community will do what is necessary to save our planet, to save this world for generations yet unborn. John chapter 3, verse 16 in the New Testament says, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. The word for world in the Greek translation is the word cosmos, a word that refers to everything that exists, everything that has been created. The Bible says God so loved the world. It is our job to love those and those things that God loves. And God loves the world. The old song says it this way: He's got the whole world in his hands, and he has entrusted its care into ours. Thank you, Interfaith Power and Light. Thank you, all who work to save our planet, to save our world. Thank you, all who love the world that God loves.
Thank you so much, Bishop Curry, for that inspiring message. Bishop Curry has been a champion of environmental justice and even joined our Minnesota IPL affiliate in protesting the Dakota Access Pipeline in South Dakota. We are grateful to him and grateful to so many other clergy and faith leaders who are standing up for climate justice and to block fossil fuel infrastructure and the further building out and desecration of our land. IPL's Faith Climate Action Week equips faith leaders to preach and teach on climate justice, and that is where the donations from this evening will be directed. We are well on our way to reaching our $60,000 goal for the evening, just $12,600 left to go. Again, you can donate via the donate box on the left-hand side of your screen. Faith Climate Action Week is just around the corner this year from April 16th to 25th, and our theme this year is Sacred Ground, cultivating connections between our faith, our food, and the climate. Every year, Faith Climate Action Week helps more than 1,000 congregations discuss the connection between our spiritual teachings and our calling to care for creation. I hope that you will make a donation this evening to bring this program to even more congregations in 2022. We've had several donations come in since our last update, and so I would like to thank John Rainwater, Tiffany Hartung, Eve Webster, Dan Kalb, Paul Slentz, Monet Monahan, Gerald Bernstein, Catherine Cunningham, Rabbi Moshe Hain, Mike Kennedy, and Betty Hibbler. There's still time to make a donation on the left-hand side of your screen, and I hope that you will join Sam Schuckett, Joe Shortino, Nancy Hughes, Blanche Stevenson, and Jack and Joanne Burgess, and many other generous supporters in making a donation tonight. Next, we have another impact video from our IPL affiliate in Virginia.
Hi, I'm Faith Harris, co-director for Virginia Interfaith Power and Light. I share this position with Kendall Crawford. She is our second co-chair, or co-director, I should say. And we together lead Virginia Interfaith Power and Light in environmental justice, advocacy, education, and worship. Union Hill was a really beautiful, pristine, rural community, and it is a community where people previously had been enslaved and had, after freedom and emancipation, had been able to work and save money and purchase land, and built a beautiful community, family-oriented community there in Union Hill, right there where on some of the same land where their ancestors had been enslaved. Dominion Energy was planning and proposed the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, and which would actually traverse that community, as well as be burrowed under the James River right at that community. What that meant for this community was a complete disruption of their way of life. As well as the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, there was also a compressor station, a 7 times larger compressor station than had ever been built in the United States, or really anywhere, was proposed for this pipeline, for this to usher and to push the frack gas through this pipeline towards the destination point, which would be on the coast here in Virginia and in North Carolina. And so we organized a religious fact-finding delegation to go to Union Hill, where we brought faith leaders, adjudicatory leaders from all over the state to visit the site and to learn in the same way that we had learned, to have the people who live there be able to share their concerns with these faith leaders. And we accompanied that with a day-long, again, fact-finding, where we had lunch, we had presentations, we had site visit, and then we culminated this event with a sign-on letter asking their communities, these faith leaders, to take this sign-on letter back to their communities and to have their constituents, as well as other faith leaders in their community, sign on. And so we were very delighted that many of these faith leaders did so. And we ended with a fairly large contingency and a very large petition that we were able to deliver to the governor's office, as well as to DEQ, on behalf of the members and the people of the Union Hill community. So a number of organizations, nonprofit environmental organizations, were signed on to a lawsuit brought by the Southern Poverty Law Center to the court to vacate the permits, because Union Hill had not been recognized as an environmental justice community before issuing the permits, and the court agreed. So as a result of the permits being canceled for the ACP and the compressor station, the pipeline, Dominion Energy announced this past summer that the pipeline project was canceled, and named a number of reasons, and part of those reasons were the fact that the permits had been canceled, as well as all of the delays that had happened. And we can take credit for creating the delays that made it impossible for them to benefit financially from this project.
Hello, Interfaith Power and Light. We are so grateful to be with you for your 25th anniversary. This is the Thrive Choir, and we are singing We Shall Be Known by my muse. Please enjoy.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these vines. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these vines. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these vines. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Hi, I'm Doug Bland. I'm Executive Director for Arizona Interfaith Power and Light. Our affiliate was one of 7 affiliates across the country that worked hard this last election cycle to encourage people of faith to get out the vote and to vote with care for God's creation in mind. The name of our campaign was the Faith Climate Justice Voter Campaign. We were going to have festive events where we invited people to congregations to encourage them to vote. And we had a colorful voters guide that we were sending out. We were going to distribute to 100 congregations, 1,000 copies around the state. We were going to knock on doors. And the thing I was most excited about was working with the Yale Climate Communication Center. And they were doing a research project on the impact that sermons have on the attitudes and the behaviors of their congregants. And as a preacher, I've been curious for years to know about what the impact of sermons might be. And of course, then our world got turned upside down, and we had to take all those things that we were planning face to face and in person and make them virtual and online. And the second thing that happened was George Floyd was murdered. And we recognized that the impact of the coronavirus was much more serious in communities of color. Black Lives Matter protests were taking place. And we began to recognize that if we ever thought that we could separate climate justice and racial justice, we could no longer do so. So we started to figure out ways that we could do things online rather than in person. One of the things that we came up with in Arizona, and some other state affiliates did as well, was to take the Values Voters Guide that had these important things that we wanted to consider as they go to the poll, including LGBTQ rights and an economy that cares for the planet and people, and immigration and other issues. Rather than being able to distribute that guide, we invited activists in our community to come and tell their story about why they were involved and committed to these causes and these values. And it ended up being much more powerful as we heard personal stories from their lives. We think that our campaign made a real difference in people's lives and in their involvement. We texted 350,000 people of faith across the country who were low propensity voters. We got pledges from 7,000 people to vote, and to vote with climate justice in mind.
Hello, I'm the Reverend Dr. Gerald Durley, Chair of the Board of Interfaith Power and Light. We're so glad that you came and joined with us on our 20th anniversary. We realize that you could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be with us. I've served as board chair now for 3 years and been on the board for about 6 or 7 years, and it's really been a tremendous delight. I never thought in my wildest dream that I would be heading up the largest interfaith grassroots organization in the world. Why? Because environment was really not me. I was a civil and human rights person. I started with Dr. King and Andy Young years ago, fighting for the civil rights and the human rights of all human beings. But then one day I met a lady named Jane Fonda, and Jane began to talk to me about what the environment was about. Then she introduced me, or maybe tricked me, into meeting a lady named Sally Bingham. And if you know Sally Bingham, she's about 9 feet tall with a very powerful, booming, resonating voice. And I started listening to her. And then I began to understand that what we fought for in the 1960s, civil and human rights, was really the movement of the environmental movement today. Everybody has a civil and a human right to clean water, clean energy, and clean air. But we're being denied that because we have major companies that are putting profits ahead of people. So therefore, you're being with us today lets me know that you're concerned too about the civil and human rights. This is the issue of the day, and we're all involved. It's so important that we not overlook the communities of color and the smaller communities and the cancer that's causing. And you can do it. A contribution to Interfaith Power and Light. Oh yes, we've got 20 years. But there's a saying in the NAACP, if you want this big dog to fight for you, you got to feed the dog. A hungry dog cannot fight. And the way you feed it is by giving us contribution. Make a pledge over the year, maybe by the month, maybe annually, or you can just contribute it today. It's so important because this is the issue of our day. I've been around long enough. I've pastored for over 30 years, and I watched what was happening in the communities. And this climate change, these environmental destructive patterns, they don't discriminate whether you're white or black or tall or gay or lesbian or female. They come in, wildfires and devastations are so enormous. So we're all in this together. And the only way we're going to get through it and out of it victoriously is to work together. How do we work together? First of all, we get with organizations like IPL that's been all over the country in 40 states, 22,000 houses of worship. And you now can be an integral part of that. Yes, there are many organizations, and we're not working in a silo, we're working together. But our particular event is to understand, as Bishop Curry said, and we thank him for those remarks. What a powerful man when he talked about John 3:16. He said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. But what we're saying that we have a moral and an ethical obligation to protect a planet that was given to us, which was perfectly ecologically balanced. And now we are destroying it. This is our time, and this is our moment, and this is your day. It's not about tomorrow. It's not about somebody else. It's not about pointing a finger. It's about how can I get involved? How do I get involved? And it's just not about money, but it's about you working along with other people, maybe in your neighborhood, maybe organizing, maybe bringing people together. I don't know, but you know best. So I'm saying to you as chair of the board, and also just a recent convert, to understand that this is the battle of our lives. It's an ethical and a moral war, and we need you. We need you at all levels. So please contact the IPL office, go on the website, whatever it is. And remember this, it only takes one. Martin Luther King says we are the soul of the nation, and the soul of the nation, I believe now, is the environment, because the environment encompasses it all, and that's what a soul does. You are with a soulful organization, and we look forward to you. As I close, I want to say one thing, and I want you to think about it over and over. Remember this, you are on the winning team. You are on the winning team, but you can't be on the winning team unless you join the team. So we look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to seeing you in person, and we look forward to a contribution. Thank you so much, and stay strong. Bless the planet.
Thank you, Gerald. We are on the winning team. Thank you so much for that message. You always build us up and lift us up, and we are so grateful for your leadership on the IPL Board of Directors. And I also want to thank our Minnesota, Virginia, and Arizona affiliates for sharing their impact stories with us this evening. With 40 state affiliates around the country, we have so many more stories that we could have shared with you this evening. So I want to urge you, if you haven't done so already, please connect with the IPL affiliate in your state and see how you can get involved in the work that is happening on the ground in local communities. Thanks to your generosity, we have already raised $49,600 tonight. So just $10,400 left to go. Will you please help us raise this last $10,000 with a donation right now? You'll be joining Donna Weingarten, Debbie Mytels, Dwight Wagensius, Mark Riley, Robert Wall, Ashiki Scott, Newland Smith, Linda Stenholm, William Bradley, Ann Carter, Deborah Switlick, and Sam Tia in supporting the important work and the mission of Interfaith Power and Light. Together, we will inspire and mobilize people of faith and conscience all over the country to take bold and just action on climate change, ensuring a safe and livable planet for current and future generations. We've been building this movement for 20 years, and we know that we need to act now in order to protect this beautiful planet and the future of our children. Your donation will help educate, inspire, and mobilize thousands of people of faith in every state to care for creation as one of their religious values and to advocate for climate justice. There's still time to make a donation this evening on the left-hand side of your screen, and you can continue donating here once the event has ended, or you can also donate online on our website at interfaithpowerandlight.org. We also want to thank those who've joined us on YouTube, and that is the place that you can give your donation this evening if you have joined us in that way. You can also donate via mail by sending a check to our headquarters in Oakland, California. I want to say just one final thank you to all of you for joining us this evening and for being an essential part of this religious response to climate change over the past 20 years. Interfaith Power and Light is possible because of your generosity, your passion, and your commitment. So we thank you for all that you are doing to support the work of the national office and to support the work of our state affiliates. By acting from our spiritual values, values of justice, courage, hope, and love, we can change the world. Thank you, blessings, and good night.